but while you're thinking of something, I think since it's a small crowd, you can just shout them out. Let me tell you some of the things I'm doing. I'm doing a rock opera, actually a rock concert in Amsterdam in September. My agent said to me, really, oh, you know, keep the lights on. Keep the lights on so I can see everybody. Hello? I'm doing a rock, I call it an oratorium, although that's sort of opera talk, but, or classical music talk. I was asked about, I don't know, 10 months ago, and my agent said, well, you know, it's 10 months from now, you know, I don't know, we should probably turn it down. And I said, Susie, I'm 71 years old. Are we waiting for a better rock concert? I mean, the sheer fact that this gentleman wants me to be in his rock concert is terrific. And one of the things that, and it's a big crowd. It's 10,000, audience of 10,000 for 4 nights. And they sold out in 2.5 hours. Wow. So there's that. I don't know how many of you know, but I spend a lot of time working for, advocating, as it were, for science. I'm coming back to do a little something for the State Department. I also have a project that I'm working on right now. I've done a lot of work on the Scopes monkey trial, which is all about how evolution was brought into, you know, okay. Well, I'm now writing a new piece about the Dover Intelligent Design Trial that took place in 2005 in Dover, Pennsylvania. And it's about intelligent design, which has been already debunked as a pseudo-science. And so I'm working on that. And then I have another one, which I'm working with a very marvelous animator and sort of artistic art conceptualizer, Eli Noyes in San Francisco, on little 60-second shorts called This Is Having to Do with Intelligent Design. Remember the words intelligent design. And then it's called God's Goofs. And it's about things that are maybe not so intelligently designed. That we have one pipe that goes to 2 pipes. And that's the reason we choke. And there are mammals, porpoises and whales that don't have that. Or how our eyes are just not particularly well designed. In front of the retina are a lot of nerves and blood cells, which is essentially sort of like putting a curtain in front of a window that you're trying to look out. So and we're providing these in little 60-second things, mostly for young kids, so that they have some understanding that they begin to develop a sort of a critical thinking. One of the things in which, when I was a little boy and I went to Sunday school, I remember very distinctly, Jonah lived in a whale. What? No, Jonah lived in a whale. It's true. And that set me off into a zone that went over here, because I just didn't know. You can't live in a whale. I don't know. So obviously, instead of saying, you know, it's an allegory, you know, obviously I understand that people are not going to start talking about that to an 8-year-old, but it's somehow, that was important. That was an important moment for me. So I've continued that. I'm not good at math, but whatever that is, 62 years later or something like that. All right, so do you have any questions? Yes?
So the Q character brought a lot of levity and mischief to what could be an otherwise kind of serious Star Trek TNG. Was it as much fun to create and to build the Q character as it was for us, your audience, to watch?
A very good question. In the first episode, which I understand, I was only hired to do one show. And it was an afterthought. The Q character was literally an afterthought. What had happened was that Gene wanted to go directly into series. And the network persuaded him, by throwing apparently a great deal of money at him, to make it a movie of the week, an MOW. And so he had to write more. And at that point, that's when my character came in. I believe that character, I'm sure he sat down and he probably went, okay, gee, what were the characters that worked really well before? And I think the Trelane character came to mind, a version of that. This was beyond me. I had not been I am dyslexic. I was very dyslexic. So television was pulled out of my house when I did. My parents pulled it. So I really did not grow up with the culture of television. I used to love to go to movies, so I had seen Star Trek as a movie, but I had never seen the episodes. So in any case, when I came on, I was hired, and then I started my shooting. Right off the bat, I felt that there was a lot of wink and nod in this character. You know, this character had a great ability to undercut and stuff like that. But the director, Corey Allen, was adamant that it needs to be, you know, like that. And so that first episode was not as much what I wanted to do. And I figured when I was finished, that I was going to be truly finished, even though maybe about 3 days into shooting, Gene, I heard, you know, I'm watching the setup, and I heard a voice behind me say, "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." And I turned around and I said, "Gene, what are you talking about?" And he said, "Oh, you'll see." So here it is, you know, I'm in Richmond 32 years later. At that time, he said, "We really would like to bring you back." At that time, he also said, "We'd like to bring you back about 4 to 6 times a year." But when I saw him again, I was doing something else on the lot, and he came up to me and he said, "We can't do that. If we do that, you know, it could end up becoming kind of like the Q show, because you've got this trickster." And having done Romeo and Juliet twice in my life, having played Romeo, there is nothing more dispiriting than playing that character when Mercutio is there. Mercutio is the fun, the audience loves Mercutio. And then he dies, and it's just on Romeo's shoulders, and you can feel the audience go, So I sort of knew, I went, no, it's fine. And also you have to understand, it's not my dinner party, it's their dinner party, so they get to invite whoever they want. Okay, next. Somebody. Yeah.
Since you've done Shakespeare before, what's your favorite role that you've done in Shakespeare live?
Oh, my favorite role in Shakespeare. I think the histories are great. I enjoy them. I've done Hamlet. I've done Romeo. I've done what else? Taming of the Shrew, Midsummer Night's Dream, Winter's Tale. You know, they all have they all work at some level and then don't work at other levels. So I don't know if I have a favorite. I very much enjoy Henry IV, Part 1. Or, wait a minute, I take that back. Henry IV, Part 2, especially the role of the king when he's talking to his son. It's always meant a great deal to me. Yes, next. Yes.
All right. Who was your favorite captain to work with?
Who's my favorite captain to work with?
Yeah.
Well, I'm friendly I'm very friendly with Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that doesn't qualify as being as making it the favorite. The favorite is really dependent on material. And the best material for me was when I was working with Patrick, because there was material which was essentially who's on top. Who's, it's the regular who's winning, who's losing, and what have you. And therefore you could play those much more easily. The problem with the Kate, with the Voyager, is that they were so concerned that Kate would play it, that she somehow was attracted to Q, that they pulled all of that out of contention. And so it's a little bit like taking the colors on your palette, some of the primary colors off the palette, so you don't have that to play with. So it made those scenes were, where we could have gotten very close, and we could have done all sorts of things for which the audience would have gone, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But all of that was pulled away, so we didn't have that to play with. Yes, next. Yeah.
Well, you answered my first question, but my children wanted to know, as your character of Discord, what was kind of your motivation or inspiration for that character?
What was my motivation, inspiration for Discord? This is a longish answer, perhaps. I simply got a call at my house, which was, you have an offer from my voiceover agent, so I knew right off the bat. You have an offer for, never heard of it, I didn't remember. They'd like to send you the script, and they'd like an answer, as soon as they can. I said, well, I'm in my office, so send it right away. I read about 3 or 4 pages. And I went, well, this is really well written. And it's a children's cartoon. I mean, it's not going to get, nothing horrible is going to happen. So the answer is yes. I go in, I shoot it, or I record it. Never did I consider this to be some sort of an extension of the Q character. They did, but I didn't know that. So the similarity is that I'm playing it. That's the closest similarity. If I had to choose a character archetype or prototype for somebody else, I would say Oscar Wilde. Very flamboyant, emotions on his sleeve, outrageous in that respect, but never Q, and yet at the same time, I guess I have played many characters that sort of move a little bit in that direction anyway. So there was I did not put the two of them together. Now, of course, I realize that everybody else is putting the two together. But to this day, that's not how I do it. Okay, yes? Okay. Which one is my favorite episode of My Little Pony? Well, one you haven't seen yet is when I take all the ponies to the glue factory. I think the kids love it. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a favorite. I'll tell you, I worked really hard on that song. It's the one and only time I have ever sung a song professionally. And I don't sing. I'm actually paid not to sing. So that was a high point. I guess my general feeling about it is that I like the show because it's it tells in a way cautionary tales, moral, secular tales, which is, I think, in one reason why Star Trek is so beloved. So I like to be part of that. I remember in one instance I was reading, I was preparing for one, and I go, isn't this interesting? I'm the character who has no friends, and now I have a friend, and I'm so happy that I have a friend. And we're going to go to some event, and she says, I'm going to bring another friend. And that is not well received by me. And I go, isn't this interesting? This is a cautionary story for let's say the classic 8-year-old girl. But I can think of 80-year-old guys who need this cautionary story. So, and it's really nice to be involved in something like that. Okay, next. Yes.
Outside of My Little Pony and Star Trek, what other roles did you enjoy doing? Like recently,
What other roles besides My Little Pony and Star Trek? Well, for this audience, I need to just say none. Nothing else. Really, I have two things.
Well, I rewatched West Wing and I saw your role that you played on that.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, was there any other?
Well, what other? I don't know. Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Big impression.
Stargate.
There's a whole part of my life that you do not get to see. A year ago, I was in a very, very, very intense play called Vicuña in Washington, D.C., which I played Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
I played actually a guy named Kurt Seaman. Which was, and it was, I won't say a spoof, it was really a dark piece. And it was very difficult to do. And there were 5 of us, I think, on stage, 5 or 6 of us on stage. When it was originally done, before the election, everybody laughed. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. The day after, complete silence. I've done a lot of work with symphony orchestras over many, many years. I'm not doing them anymore, but many, many years, maybe 15 years of creating shows for symphony orchestras and going around the world doing that. I directed a dozen operas or so. And I've done a lot of plays over the years and stuff like that. So there are many, many other things that I've done. Yes?
I love the character Trios in Planescape Torment, and I have friends who had no idea that you voiced Alarak for Heroes of the Storm on StarCraft. Do you have voice acted characters that people are surprised as you? Like, I wish they'd given Trios more than like 5 lines. You know, kind of voice them.
Well, I have to say, what was the first one? Trios?
In Planescape Torment. The Fallen Diva.
I love that. Yes, I just finished actually a very, very, very big video game, which I'm still not allowed to tell you what it is. I do a fair amount of voiceover work. People who generally, I'm told that my voice is distinctive, and I'm not really a voiceover actor to say that they are, that they work on many different characters and what have you. I remember once in whatever town it was, I was invited by about 7 or 8 voiceover guys to come and have dinner with them. It was exhausting. They were like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, there were just all of these characters that they were coming out with, and they were trying to outdo each other. And I was, on the sideline drinking my martini and going, this just completely out of control. People then mostly hire me for just what I do, which is this. So, but I enjoyed doing the voiceover, and I just finished a big job, which I hope will be, I'm sure will be successful.
Could you tell us the studio?
I cannot tell you. Yes.
Yeah, good morning. I would like to know your opinion about the new series, Discovery, and also your opinion about Space Force.
My opinions on the new series.
Discovery.
Discovery.
Okay.
And also your opinions about Space Force.
Space Force.
Yeah, Trump's new space army.
There's your answer.
No, they once said about Darrow and William, it's Brian. Is it William James? Yeah, William James Brian. He has a big mouth, it's a mile wide and a foot deep. You know, I just think these are just things that are thrown out. They're just things just without any thinking about it or stuff like that. So you just kind of go. The Star Trek show. I've only seen 1 or 2 episodes of it, and what I saw I thought was quite good. But I don't follow. I actually don't watch very much television. I think it's something that you picked up, one picks up as a kid. I've never really made a date with television. And so I don't really watch very much. Yeah?
Will you be on the new Picard show?
Will I be on the new Picard show? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, I would be playing like geriatric coming out like this. You know, I have a big feeling that you actually cannot go back. I mean, you know, everybody has a different opinion about these things. But I had success in a character which has gone beyond the beyond in terms of its longevity. I did 9 episodes, and that's it. And it's not my dinner party. It's just not my dinner party. Yes, in the back.
I was actually kind of wondering what you think about digital actors, which are now starting to come out in a bigger way, like you've seen in the Marvel movies, where they've replaced like old Michael Douglas with young Michael Douglas, and different effects where they've actually made actual actors just look like entirely different people.
De-aging.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is the only thing we have to sell. You know, if we are a small business, the only thing we have on the shelf is us. And it does get a little strange, you know, it's a little strange, but more and more, for me personally, I am beginning to move away from all of that interest. I did it since I was 14. I'm just moving away. I feel that there's a time and place for things for which I should be interested in and not interested in. And I just don't follow very much anymore. I'm a sailor. I sailed, I did something which I'd always wanted to do, which is that I took my boat and I sailed it to Tahiti and back. I'm kind of, one thing that most of us actors will say is that when we're having one foot draped over the grave, or draped in the grave, it isn't going to be which episodes did we do, or, you know, oh, I really like this job. It's like anything else. So I'm trying to concentrate a little bit more on things that will bring me lasting pleasure. So I know that there was a movie that I auditioned for a number of years ago now, which was just about this, about how actors' faces and entities and essences would be taken, that you would sell yourself, kind of a buyout. And then the audience would forever see you at a certain age and buy your essence and how you were being merchandised. It was a very dark comedy about the way that this was going. And of course, it seems to be going in this direction. So. All right, yes, over here.
How was it being opposite for Leonard Nimoy for Alien Voices?
Well, I really enjoyed Alien Voices. It's an idea that I had, and I invited Leonard and a gentleman by the name of Lancie to be involved. And I had directed, I was working for a company called LA Theater Works, and they were doing really top-notch readings of plays under sort of the guise of it being a radio show. But it meant that you could get very good actors, and then Penning, and all those type of people, to come and work for a week on an old Coward or whatever. So you got a little bit of an opportunity to exercise a little bit. Ed Asner, I mean, so I was in amongst a lot of interesting people. They asked me, because I was rather important in that organization for a short time, they asked me, what is it that we can do to get more people to come audience? And I said, science fiction. The person who was running it was not a science fiction person at all. So the obvious science fiction that she knew was the H.G. It's the H.G. Wells, but also the famous Halloween.
War of the Worlds.
Orson Welles. Invasion of the World. War of the Worlds. And so we did that, and Leonard was the main guy. And afterwards, I said, Leonard, did you have a good time? He said, I had a great time. And I said, well, I have this idea of doing classic science fiction. Would you be interested in, Matt and I will write up the scripts. And then he said, yes. So we ended up getting a deal with Simon Schuster, and we did that. And it was important for me because I wanted to write scripts that, while they were not literally the time machine, you had to dramatize it in a certain way. At least the author could recognize the story. I, as a little boy, I was, as I said before, I had a hard time learning how to read, and so I didn't really read my first book until I was around 12. And that book was Jules Verne's Mysterious Island. And it made an enormous impression on me. And I wanted so much to be like those people, of which I dare say sailing to the South Seas was an extension of that many years later. And so I discovered that there was going to be a movie made of it. And I used to go to the movies, to the matinees, Saturday matinees, all the time. I saw all the horror movies, all the science fiction movies. I love them. And I went to this movie to see Mysterious Island. And the first thing I see are a bunch of dinosaurs fighting on the beach. I'm like, what? This isn't in the book. This is not right. And then a raft suddenly appears out of nowhere with two very blousy women on the raft, getting off the raft. And I was compelled to stand up amongst the rest of the, 12-year-olds, and I go, this is not the story! This is not the story! I was collared and thrown out. So it was really important to me to to make sure that if we were going to do something, which we did the time machine and journey to the center of the earth and what else, Lost World and stuff, that they would be recognizable by the people who wrote them. And so began this wonderful 4-year period where we did a whole bunch of things for Simon & Schuster. We did live shows. These are shows that would have Foley artists on the stage, musicians on the stage, actors on the stage, and everybody's working in sort of a machine-like way. I mean, it's all very orchestrated and very choreographed. And we ended up doing a bunch of them for the Sci-Fi Channel. They were filmed and what have you. And it was really a great deal of fun. After about 4 years, Leonard and I just looked at each other one day and we went, we love to create these things, but we hate to sell them. Selling is really not what we do, and there are people who are very good at it, but they aren't with us. And there would be our main discussions had to do with how many units, what is the ratings on it, and we just went, oh, forget it. And that was it. But that's my experience with it. Yes. I got some of it, but a little louder.
Whose idea was it to bring your son on Voyager?
Whose idea was it to bring my son on Voyager?
And was it fun?
Was it fun?
I got a call from my agent. This is how it works in our business. There are things called the breakdowns. And a script is sent to a service that reads the script and does a breakdown of all the characters and how many lines they have and what, a general description of the character. And then that summary is sent out to all the agents all over, certainly LA and America, let's say. So my agent called me up one day and they said, they're looking for someone to play your son on Star Trek. Do you think Keegan would like to do that? Well, I don't know. I'll ask him. So I asked him, and he said yes. And he auditioned. I did not involve myself with it very much at all. He auditioned 3 times. So he got it on his own. And I paid $600,000. So in any case, he learned, he did his part. Was it fun? Well, it's interesting. How could I put this? Acting is a little bit like a tennis game. You want a really good match, and the better the person is on the other side, the better you are. But if you sense weakness and what have you, this is actor to actor, you can be very nice about it and what have you, but it has nothing to do with you. You could either go in for the kill or you hold back, but it is a competitive and at a certain level a competitive sport. Well, all of a sudden it's my son. So the part of me who is playing a character called Q, who is the epitome of the narcissistic character, is all of a sudden completely wanting to make sure, Keegan, is everything okay with you? Well, it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. So in terms of was it fun? I was mostly concerned about him, and therefore I wasn't sure whether I was actually doing a very good job, because that was, my job is really not to be concerned about how the other actor is doing, it's only to be concerned about how I'm doing. So that's sort of a bizarre way of answering that. Okay, somebody over here, yeah. Yeah, sure. Whoever. Fight it out.
Fight.
As an artist that branches through a lot of things, how do you, or when you're not working on a project, how do you really get your art to release?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. One of the biggest problems, I remember having this epiphany. I had always, from the age of 14, this is a long answer to this question because there are a lot of elements, and it's a good, very good question. I had flunked out of school, flunked a grade, and flunked out of a school, of one school, and then flunked a grade. So I was really in trouble. And one day, the teacher, a marvelous little school made up of wayward kids and wayward teachers, came in, and he would say, we're going to do Henry V. We're going to do, Midsummer Night's Dream, or, Handel's Messiah. We're going to do Mozart's Marriage of Figaro. To a class, my entire class, senior class, was 19 kids. So we were like, oh, good. And I did Henry V, and I'm about 14. And they say, all of a sudden, the reaction was, wow, you're really good at this. I had never had that reaction, ever. So I grabbed onto that like a life preserver. It's very possible that I might have done better in some other profession, but that was the first time that anybody reacted positively towards me. As time went on, I always had a script in the back of my mind. I always had something to do. I ended up back-assing my way into Juilliard, so I had all of that. And then I'm now in Los Angeles, and I'm in the business where you are not working all the time. And that's when I began to realize, why is it that I feel a lot of stress and feel a lot of kind of like, oh my God, things are not working out, is that what makes me feel good is to be in a state of creating. So it was at that point that I began to realize, I have lived a life up until 25 years old where people would give me things. I now have to create things. I have to create things where I am creating. The script for, the easiest one is writing because you don't need anybody else. It's a little bit like painting. You don't need anybody else. So I began creating scripts. I began throwing irons in the fire of all the things that I could do. I could teach. Well, teaching, yes, I could make a little bit of money, but I was in a state of creating. I could produce shows that I go, oh, that's just really good. I could give this to somebody else, and they could do this, and that. Well, so that has been the thing that has propelled me. Have I answered your question? Okay. Yes.
I love what you've been saying about, books shaping your life a little bit, and I work for the public library. So I'm curious, what's one book you think everybody should read?
Wow, one book. Well, this is really at the top. Borstein's The Discoverers. It's about the great ideas that have shaped our lives. It's about, and it's told in the most marvelous sort of way. It starts at the very beginning with the moon and the sun in terms of just what time is. And I remember the story of the guy in Alexandria who he heard that there was a well somewhere in Ethiopia that on a certain time of the day you could look, the sunlight went all the way to the bottom of that well. So he walked to that well, I don't know, like 600 miles. He had a staff, you know, whatever length, 8 feet, let's call it. And then, watch that take place, and then put that staff down for the next 600 miles, all the way back to Alexandria, counted all of that up, and figured out to within something like 3% the curvature of the Earth. Oh my God. So I love that type of stuff, and that is a book, Borstein's The Discoverers, where you will get that. Yes?
I'm also dyslexic and didn't read till I was 10. Has that affected your career with reading scripts, memorizing?
The lady said she's also dyslexic and did not learn how to read until she was 10, and has that affected my career? Yes, very, very, very much so. I spent most of my life counting up how many lines I had and turning down shows that had too many lines.
I understand.
Being really scared about it. So, you know what? Not a photo shoot. Okay, thanks. So, if there's any single thing, I don't have a fear of being on stage, but I do have a fear of, and tremendous effort goes into memorizing lines. It's a big drag. Yes.
Can you talk about your time on the series Legend with Richard Dean Anderson?
Yeah. Can I talk about it?
Yeah.
I did a series called Legend. Legend was written by Michael Piller. This will give you a little idea of how our business works. Michael Piller was the main writer and producer for Star Trek for quite a long time. So I had worked for him, already, and he knew me. And I'm down in my little office, and I get a call, and it's Michael, and he said, "Hey, John, listen, I'd like to messenger a script over to you today. It's called Legend, and there's a character that you have been the voice in my head during the entire time in which I've written it." I said, "Wow, oh, really?" Yes, and it is already a sold series. It's with Richard Dean Anderson. You play the character of Nikola Tesla, and I'd like you to read it. Would you be able to read it tonight? Yeah. I said, "Well, of course, Michael, yes. And if you like it, could you come in tomorrow and audition for it?" I said, "Michael, I feel like this is this is the, Nixon 18-minute tape, that there's been something that's like, we came up to the, if you really like it, could you come in tomorrow?" And then there's been a whole section taken out, and the man called, "Could you audition for it?" Well, that's how our business works. You gotta go, "Really?" So I had to go and audition 3 times for that role. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful show. And the bittersweetness of it was that it was handed to us to a new network called UPN, not UPS. But that nobody knew, and they didn't have their stuff together. And ultimately we did 13, and it was canceled. But there was one particular day which was heaven for me, and that is that we were, as a kid who loves kind of what's considered boys adventure stories, Treasure Island and all that kind of stuff. I was watching them get the set ready, and just imagine this. It was a room about this big. It was in a soundstage, and they had built a cave, and at the top was this big hole, And it was beautifully done with tall grasses that were around the hole. So the idea is that this was a hole, the ground level was up there, and this was a hole, and down it was this cave. And in this cave was a dinosaur. And they had brought from the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles, they had those wooden crates, and they were putting together this dinosaur. And I was just like, oh man, this is great. This is just great. And I got a tap on my shoulder, and he goes, hey John, and it was one of the producers, and he said, good news, we've been canceled. And the best day, best moment, another worst moment. So that was my experience of it. I mean, I enjoyed the show. We worked very, very hard. We never had anything less than 12 to 14-hour days. We worked really hard with an hour's drive back and forth out into the desert. So, you know, we were all shell-shocked, but also great. So there was a part of us that was like, well, okay, fine. Okay, next. Oh, in the back, yeah.
We
Shout
have
out.
time for one more question.
Okay, that's good. So, I was at the Reason, you heard me at the Reason rally, and you loved my speech, and has my atheism affected my career? I don't know. You know, you don't know about these things. I'm doing more and more of these speeches. I did a very big speech up in San Francisco. I'm going to Iceland. Unfortunately, with the categorization, you know, the words atheist, like that, that's not really where I'm at. I have some friends who have recently actually gone through some very, very difficult times. And thankfully for them, they are very religious. And so it has provided for them great comfort. I myself have gone through some rather startling wake-up news of late, and then had an experience out at sea, a couple thousand miles off the coast, and it's just not where I go. Okay, so we have two different ways of operating, but we are still great friends. My concern has to do with taking one's beliefs out into the public square. Once they are in the public square, you cannot impose them on other people anymore. Okay, and then in very specific terms, I'm quite concerned when groups get together and start stripping us of what we know today. And that's, you know, in the area of science. I get enormous amount of pleasure from all of the things that we have discovered in the last 500 years. And I am comfortable with the fact that what we know today will in fact change tomorrow. We will know it more fully, or we will find out, well, you know what, that line actually stops there, and we have to go over here. I am happy with knowing, with not knowing, I guess. And that's the nature of scientific inquiry, what have you. And then there's a whole nature of religious faith and belief, and I just don't want them together. I don't think it helps us.